Welcome to this video tutorial. This one is focusing on a 10 marker. This was on last year's paper 2017 and what I'll do is I'll go through the question, look at the examiner comments and also look at the mark scheme, and it will just give you a little bit of an idea whilst you are practicing what we were looking for as examiners. Okay, so this question was an outline and explain. That's a 10 marker. Outline and explain, just to briefly outline, is a question that is requiring you to make links between two things. Now the question is giving you the links that they want you to link together, if that makes sense. I'm not really being very clear. So what I mean is you've got to look at the question, look for the connectives and make a link between the two connectives. So what do we mean by connectives? So these are the connectives from the question. Okay, so this is asking for practical disadvantages. So give practical disadvantages. There were some students last year that were writing practical advantages. They didn't know what practical were. They were giving theoretical, like validity. Oh gosh, there was all sorts. So you really need to focus on what the question is asking. Practical disadvantages. The second connective is documents. So give me an example of a document, and you can gain marks by giving an example from sociological research. What I would recommend is for every method you know at least one example of it in research. Okay. Okay, so there were the connectives. You needed practical disadvantages, you needed examples of documents, and at least one link to sociological research to be getting top of the band. Okay, so this is basically what the examiner was saying. You can access these on the AQA website, just so you don't have to. This is basically what they said. So the majority of students did give two practical disadvantages, and the most common were time, cost, access and authenticity. Your stronger answers could explain the problem in detail and give good application and analysis in relation to both public or personal documents, and that's where the analysis comes into it, that you can make the distinction that not all documents are the same. Better developed answers were able to link the disadvantage to a specific piece of research where the documents had been used, hence that is why I'm recommending that you know at least one piece of research which are using a particular method, or link the disadvantage to a particular issue, and this is where you could link it to other issues such as theoretical issues, for example, and I'll explain that in just a minute. However, there was few students who could offer sustained development of the practical disadvantages. Many responses were quite short in length. That might have been a timing issue. This is the last question on the paper. Some students might have run out of time. And some answers were not rewarded because they discussed theoretical initially or ethical. I didn't see many ethical issues. I did see quite some theoretical issues rather than the practical disadvantages. Schools and colleges should be reminded that there are no marks for evaluation. There was a lot of confusion between what you were getting marks for. If you do the 10 marker with an item, there was evaluation marks available. For this one, no evaluation marks. It is just the analysis. So let's have a little bit of a cheeky look at the mark scheme. Okay, so to get in top band, you need to have really good knowledge of two practical disadvantages of the documents in research. You had to have two good applications of the material, and you had to have appropriate analysis of both of them. Okay, going down the bands, you could have reasonable to good knowledge of one or two practical disadvantages and two applications of the material with some analysis. And then bottom band, there was very limited knowledge, or they might have drifted into the theoretical or the ethical advantages. Okay, looking at the addictive content, and this is where you might get confused because you might see stuff like authenticity and things like that, representativeness. That would be a theoretical issue, but they're in the addictive content because we're expecting students to be analysing these examples, so that's why that they're on there. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of a cheeky think about it. Okay, so a couple of points that you could have made on this question. So 2 practical disadvantages. So you could have had time consuming to gain access to the documents. For example, a diary. So give me an example. Could have been in a private collection, and this means that you might not get access to it, and the ones that you do get access to might not be typical of the ones that you don't get access to, which then, and this is the analysis point, means that you are lacking representative, which is part of Scott's criteria. Going back to the mark scheme, that is what Scott said there are qualities of looking at documents, criteria of looking at documents, so you could refer to Scott's criteria there. And also, linking onto that time consuming, again, going deeper into it, you could say, even if you did get access to the document that could have been in a private collection, the analysis of the document, such as a diary, because it's in qualitative data, could be also time consuming, which then also could lead to a small sample size, which again means that you are not getting data that is representative of the population as a whole, because it's a small sample, and that's where you're getting the analysis from there. You could have said about, if you want to give an example of sociological research that use documents on the mark scheme, you've got Thomas and Zanecki. There he is. Okay, so Thomas and Zanecki, they looked at letters, and what they did was they advertised for letters in a newspaper, and so they basically paid for them. So again, you've got a problem there of having to pay for the letters. So that again is a practical problem, an issue of cost. But then also, this is also going to distort the research, because one, people might have submitted letters which were fake for a kick-off. So again, linking it into Thomas, they might be not authentic, which is Scott's criteria again, and also it might not be representative of the people of all letters. You could then also develop Thomas and Zanecki because they were Polish immigrants, the Polish immigrants in America, so there might be problems of translation, which means that it might not translate as easy to English, so the meanings might be lost within the translation, which then analysis could reduce the validity of the research. Okay. This also raises the practical difficulty of interpreting meaning. So again, this is on there. Here, not strictly a sociological piece of research, but one that I do talk about with my students is Anne Frank's diary, and the fact that that needed to be translated. And again, that problem of translation could have been on there as well. And just to talk about some of the other citations of the mark scheme, Atkinson was looking at coroner's reports in terms of suicide. You could argue that it being scientific language, difficult again to interpret the meaning of, which again you can link it into Scott's criteria, which again is lowering the validity of the research. And also getting access to coroner's reports are going to be quite problematic. And Anderson is this one, the parish records, looking at from the family topic. Again, they are more public records that they were looking at, so you could say that because they're looking at parish records and because we're public, there might be a lot of them, so again you can link it into the practical problem of time consuming. And then the last one was Uries, and he is one that students typically do remember, which is the study of paintings. And again, what I would get students to write about with Uries is that if you're studying documents, one, getting access, because these were paintings of children from medieval times as far back, and that's what he used in his research to look at childhood. They might be in private collections, in museums, problems of access getting to those. And then you can analyse it, because paintings of that sort might have only been done by people that could afford to have their paintings or themselves being painted. So you're going to get a class bias. Again, that's analysis. And again, you know, if you're looking from any document from the past, letters or paintings, you are assuming that the people are literate and that they could write. So again, there's a bit of a bias of your class background as well. typically middle class or working class would not be had the literacy skills to be able to write. So you're not capturing that, and that's again another practical problem. Okay, so I've given you loads of prompts for you to think about there when answering those questions. So thank you for listening, and I shall speak to you again soon. Bye.